The story is now legendary. Baseball legend John Jordan Buck O'Neil, then aged 93, was walking back to his hotel in New York City about a year ago when he and a couple of friends passed an attractive woman, apparently in her 30s, wearing a bright red dress. The friends entered their hotel, which is when they noticed Buck was no longer with them. He was back down the street exchanging laughs with the woman. When O'Neil returned, they asked him if he knew her. No, he said, but one thing in life, you never pass up an opportunity to talk to a woman in a red dress. Our number one story in the countdown tonight, Buck O'Neil died Friday night from cancer of bone marrow and congestive heart failure, both only diagnosed within the last month. We were privileged to be on the planet at the same time he was.
The day Buck O'Neil was born in Carabel, Florida, November 13, 1911, William Howard Taft was President of the United States, and Richard Nixon's mother was not yet pregnant with him. Enrico Caruso opened the opera season by singing Aida in New York with Arturo Toscanini conducting. And baseball fans in Philadelphia were still celebrating their Athletics World Series win over the New York Giants, keyed by the amazing performance of third baseman Frank Baker, now nicknamed Home Run Baker, for having hit not one, but 2 home runs in the series. There were, of course, no African-American players in that World Series, nor on any major league team, nor in the minors, nor had there been for 27 years, nor would there be for another 36. And in Carabel, Florida, and in Sarasota, where he would grow up, African-American children did not go to the same schools as the white children did, and so Buck O'Neil would not have the chance to go to Sarasota High School nor the University of Florida. His chances would have to come on the celery fields of Sarasota and the baseball fields. Buck O'Neil was a natural first baseman and a natural hitter. Playing ball for a few dollars a game helped him to work his way through Edward Waters College in Jacksonville. And in 1934, he began an odyssey through the segregated Negro Leagues, reaching their big time just in time for their heyday. The Kansas City Monarchs, Satchel Paige and Jackie Robinson among his teammates, and black baseball's first World Series championship among his accomplishments. But he was already 35 when Robinson was chosen to integrate the major leagues and already player-manager in Kansas City. Too late to cross the color line as a player, too soon to cross it as an executive. So instead he became a developer of player talent. His protégés included Elston Howard, the first black player, later MVP of the New York Yankees, and Ernie Banks, who became Chicago's legendary Mr. Cub.
I'm in the Hall of Fame because of Buck O'Neil. I spent many time and many years with him. He's a scout and a teacher. And he saw something in me when I first arrived with the Kansas City Monarchs that I didn't see in myself. And he's that type of person. He can really pull the skills that a person have out.
As integration put the Negro Leagues out of business, Buck O'Neil became one of the Major League's first scouts with the Cubs in 1956. He had already brought them Banks. He would later find them other Hall of Famers like Billy Williams and Lou Brock and latter-day stars like Joe Carter. And in 1962, at the suggestion of Banks, O'Neil became baseball's first black coach, spending a season in a Chicago uniform and a dozen more working with the minor leaguers. And there the story might have ended. Buck O'Neil triumphant, if obscure, in overcoming. But he wanted the overcoming to be remembered. As one of the founders of the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum in Kansas City, he helped open a window to history. As one of the stars of the PBS documentary Baseball in 1994, he became an overnight sensation at the age of 82. And he was a tireless campaigner to get more and more of the forgotten heroes of the Negro Leagues into baseball's Hall of Fame. In 2001, baseball finally announced a special committee would convene. It would research all candidates and 5 years later give a simple yes or no vote on each. One vote for all time. You were either in or never to be eligible again. The election of Buck O'Neil, by now baseball's senior ambassador, with 65 years in the game and 1 million fans for every year, was a foregone conclusion. Except when the voting was announced last February, 17 men and women, 2 of them white, had been elected. Buck O'Neil had not. The experts, some with conflicts of interest like books they'd written about their own favorite candidates, others with grudges against the Negro Leagues Museum, turned Buck O'Neil away to their and baseball's eternal shame. Seemingly the only man who did not see it that way, though, was Buck O'Neil himself.
Come on, everybody.
He volunteered to speak about all those who were voted in at their induction in Cooperstown, New York last July. That month, He became the oldest man to play in a professional game, drawing 2 walks in the All-Star game of the minor league, the Northern League. Throughout the summer, he continued a tireless schedule, crisscrossing the country to attend Negro Leagues commemorations, to speak, to meet fans. And then in August, he checked himself into a Kansas City hospital with exhaustion. I last got the privilege of speaking with Buck O'Neil on March 1st, just after that Hall of Fame vote that broke our hearts, but not his.
There are a lot of us in the Buck O'Neil fan club who are or who were really angry or really brokenhearted that the election turned out the way it did, but you very obviously and very publicly are not. Why aren't you?
Well, and you know, I'm a little disappointed that I didn't get in, but I think the people that was on that committee that did the voting, they were voting just what they thought it should be. And I can't hold that against anyone. I did have a chance. You know, with if I hadn't had a chance now, I would have been bitter. Just like, oh, I couldn't attend Sarasota High School. They didn't give me a chance. But with this, they gave me a chance to get into the Hall of Fame at Cooperstown. I just didn't make it.
What do you suggest those of us who admire you do about our disappointment?
Well, and I don't know what you can do, really, as far as me going into Cooperstown. But I tell you, I thank all of you that you feel the way that you feel. And I feel that I could be in Cooperstown. I think I put the numbers down. I put the numbers up that would lead you into the Hall of Fame, not on the field. So now, a lot of people, they were talking about other things I accomplished off the field, which is wonderful, but listen, I could play. You know, I played a year and made one error, and I hit the ball. I was just having to be a line drive hitter, not the home run hitter, but I drove into runs. I could do all these things, but I think, you know, with me, my greatest accomplishment might have been starting the Negro League Baseball Museum here in Kansas City, which tells that story. So if it's to be, one day I might be in the Hall of Fame. But I just want to thank all of the people that felt the way that they are feeling right now. But don't weep for Buck. Oh, man, just feel happy, just like I am. Be thankful, just like I am, that I can do and have done the things that I did do.
I'm not going to try to talk you out of being okay with this. If this cup is half full, God bless you. We could all learn a lot about that from you. But I do want to ask you this. Ernie Banks said last night that he thinks the work of that special committee is not done yet, that it should not be disbanded, that it has more people to elect and honor from the Negro Leagues, and whether it's Cannonball Dick Redding or it's John Donaldson or it's Minnie Minoso or it's Buck O'Neil, should there be another vote next year?
Well, now, had I been elected, I was going to preach, because I think everybody was on that list, was qualified, should be in the Hall of Fame, really. And that's what I was going to preach if I had been in. But now I can't preach that, because they would be thinking I'm just preaching for Buck O'Neil.
No, I don't think anybody would ever think that. I've been asking for 3 nights now if the voters who did not vote for you or for Minnie Minoso would identify themselves and at least explain what they were thinking. The voters all say they've been asked by the Hall of Fame to keep their voting confidential. Hall of Fame spokesman told me that's not true. They can talk if they want to. Do you have an opinion about that? Should they explain why they did or didn't vote for anybody in particular, including you?
They should, if they wanted to. If they wanted to explain why they didn't vote for Buck, yes, they should. They should have that privilege to do or not to do. But I don't see why they wouldn't explain why they didn't. I don't know why they would or wouldn't. But we'll see. Maybe somebody will come and say something after a while.
Buck, I said this 10 years ago when we sat down to talk about Jackie Robinson. I'll say it again. It's an honor just to know you, sir. And thank you for everything you've done for baseball. Thank you for everything you've done for this country.
The pleasure's all mine, and I thank you very much for having old Buck on here to talk a little. Thank you.
And by the way, I'm still going to push to get you in the Hall of Fame anyway.
Hey, don't stop. Keep it up.